Tom Schmit, Golden Harvest Agronomist for South Dakota. I'm going to spend the next few minutes today discussing the importance of using a soybean seed treatment. These soybean seed treatments have been a common practice in the industry for over 20 years. But like many things in agriculture, there have been a lot of advancements. Things have changed, our pest spectrum has changed, and that not all seed treatments are indeed created equal. Today, the market's being filled with a lot of options that are simply a combination of generics that may or may not include an insecticide. Some of them might have a biological. There's just a lot of choices and a lot of options out there. But it's extremely important to pay close attention to the active ingredients and the rates listed on the label in order to make sure that these seed treatments that you're using do indeed fit your needs. This is also the time of year I start getting a lot of questions on whether or not I should be using a seed treatment, especially as the planting season gets later. Most growers do understand that early in the growing season it's important to use a seed treatment when soils are cooler, they're wetter. But I'm often asked, why would I use a seed treatment as we get later in the planting season? So I'll do my best to answer at least part of that question or that concern. There are basically four main soybean seed treatments that we deal with in this area of the world. They're Pythium, Rhizoctonia, Phytophthora, and Fusarium. And what's unique about all of those diseases is that they become more prevalent at different times of the year, and also as soil temperatures are warmer or cooler or what have you. So early in the growing season, the most prevalent disease that we deal with is Pythium. That's the disease that just as emergence happens, the soybeans will start to emerge, they'll damp off, they'll die. That disease is prevalent right around that 50 to 55 degree mark is when we start seeing a lot of that disease being prevalent. It's a disease that's really prevalent in cool, wet conditions. Fusarium, on the other hand, is another disease. It's more of a nibbler type, but that's also prevalent early in the growing season. And then as we get later, as soil tends to warm up, a couple other diseases that we deal with is Rhizoctonia and Phytophthora. Rhizoctonia is most prevalent in conditions where soil is warmer, soil is drier, is when you start to see that type of disease. And then Phytophthora is going to be the disease that we deal with on warm and wet conditions. So soil temperatures that are 60 plus, that are saturated, we're getting a lot of moisture. We start seeing a larger prevalence of Phytophthora. Areas where drainage isn't quite as good, there's just a lot of places where Phytophthora can show up and give you some trouble. So, another question I get too is whether or not I should be using an insecticide. Okay, I get it. We have our diseases covered, but why would I really need an insecticide? So the two main insects that we deal with on soybeans are soybean aphids and then bean leaf beetle. And I'm one of those guys that's been around long enough to know, prior to soybean seed treatments were common practice that we regularly had to scout for bean leaf beetle. We'd have some issues right at emergence. They would clip the hypocaudal off, and then it would result in a replant situation. So we often had to do a lot of scouting and looking for that insect. So especially that overwintering generation. So soybean seed treatments have essentially taken a lot of that heavy lifting off of growers' plates. There's really not a lot of need to scout anymore for bean leaf beetle. So and that's due to the fact that the high prevalence and high use of soybean seed treatments. The other one's aphid suppression. Now soybean aphids are, they usually come in later in the season, so an absolute control is going to be very difficult with a seed applied insecticide. But what it does do is it gives us some suppression. It gives us a larger window of opportunity to, if we do need to make a sprayer pass, that we can do it in a timely manner where we're not before yields are really substantially hurt. So I hope this gives you some help here, some understanding of what soybean seed treatments do, why they're important. We do understand that the decision whether or not to treat is an important one, but I wanted to help lay out some considerations when making this decision. So hopefully you find this information useful. If you have any more questions or any more concerns, please reach out to your local seed advisor, sales rep, or agronomist. So thank you.